But my mother passed when I was in the 3rd grade.
At a young age.
Yes, and I lived with my father and a housekeeper. She was from down south. Her name was Miss Sinoni. She used to take care of me. And then my father passed when I was in the 7th grade.
Young.
Yeah.
Yeah, we on Boss Talk 101. Yeah, we gonna talk.
It don't just start here for me. I've been around a little while too, so I remember when hip hop first started, man, and I remember the West Coast movement, and you can't even, that don't start without Ice-T making a move, you know. So for me, that was big, you know, all the way back to your first Power and all the stuff that you was doing, man, just was extraordinary for a guy who was in the country, who might not have never, ever understood what was going on the West Coast, really on that level for our people. It's kind of like this podcast, like you start to diving into black media, to be honest with you. Start to looking into different things that normally people wouldn't tap into unless they had insight. A lot of people tell our story, but you just don't hear our story being told from our point of view a lot of times. So that's why I love podcasts.
Well, it's good. You know, the media has always been pretty much predominantly white, whether you're dealing with Rolling Stone magazine, Vibe, all the different stuff.
Exactly.
So a lot of times you're not really hearing our voice. You're hearing an edit. You're hearing something different. So I'm definitely pro actually us telling our story the way we want to tell it. And, you know, I've been out here so long, and there's so many misconstrued things about me and different things, but you just have to read it and laugh some of the stuff. You like, really? That's not how that happened.
Right.
So when you finally, how you say, get it from the horse's mouth, you know, that's a chance to take advantage of it, you know, because some people were there. As far as West Coast rap, I was like really the first rapper that really got national attention. There were a lot of rappers out there trying to get it, but I was able to pop off early. But that was with help from New York City. I was put on by Africa Islam, who was president of the Zulu Nation, son of Bambaataa, who gave me a little love to help me get out and break. So, you know, there's a story behind everything, but, you know, the true story can only come from the actual mouth of the person that lived it.
That's right.
But before we get into all of your accolades, I'd love to, because for me personally, I always like to get into your background, how you were raised and so forth, because in order for us to be the people that we are today, we had to go through different things from childhood till now. So I know you were raised in California?
Kinda, no. I was born in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
My mother and father, my mother was Creole. She's from New Orleans. She was a very, very fair-skinned black woman.
Okay.
Back in the 50s, they called it you could pass. That means you could pass as white, like Lena Horne and a lot of really fair.
She was real fair.
Real fair.
Okay.
And that's why I'm fair.
Right.
But she wasn't white, but my father was brown-skinned, like, say, Kenny. And they were considered almost to be an interracial marriage because of how like my mom was. And that's why I learned a lot about racism, because it wasn't tolerated in my house, because my mother would get to hear white people talk about black people. And she used to just tell me, you know, people are stupid, you know, and that was just unacceptable in my house, that people learning that people would judge us for how we look. But my mother passed when I was in the 3rd grade.
At a young age.
Yes, and I lived with my father and a housekeeper. She was from down south. Her name was Miss Sinoni. She used to take care of me. And then my father passed when I was in the 7th grade.
Young.
Yeah.
How did that affect you, losing your parents so young?
Honestly, it didn't really affect me as bad as people think, because back in them days when a parent would pass or somebody would pass, they would just take the kid and move it out. Like, nowadays kids are around funerals and deaths and things like that. In them days, if somebody passed, you'd be moved off to an aunt. You wouldn't be around the funeral. You wouldn't be around none.
Really? Not to the funeral at all? Wow.
None of that. They shelter you from all that madness. And then, you know, you just have to address it. I was too little, 3rd grade. You know, it's like my daughter now is 7 years old. She's in the 1st grade. So it's kind of like, you don't understand death yet. Is she ever coming back?
Right. Because as a child, I would think, okay, so where's mom? Where is she? Why is she not here? You would have so many questions.
Well, they tell you she passed,
right?
But you don't know what
understand
pass means.
what it means, right?
Is it gonna come back? Whatever.
when she coming back.
Then as you get older, you start to understand it.
Right.
And my father, he died when I was in the 7th grade from a heart attack. And I remember I was in junior high school, and they called me in the principal's office, and everybody had that face. Like, damn, man, you know, so he died. I wasn't there.
And that's a sudden death with a heart attack.
Once again, you know, I was separated from the whole funeral situation. I think really it just made me try to figure out what's going to happen to me.
Right.
What's really going on in my life. And as a kid, I guess you felt like, why am I getting dealt all these bad hands? I ain't
Exactly.
do nothing. So I got shipped to Los Angeles to live with my father's sister.
Oh, okay, that's how you ended up there.
And that was beginning junior high school. And my father's sister had 2 sons that she had already raised. They were out of high school. So I kind of was like, all right, I'm going to take care of you because I got to. So it wasn't really like love. It was kind of like I was dumped on a relative. And
Did you know her before? That's what I was trying to, okay.
Didn't know her. They told me, you know, since so much was going on with my dad, we're going to send you out to LA for the summer. And then all my clothes showed up. I'm like, you know.
Wow.
You know, so nowadays you discuss things with kids. When I was growing up, you as a kid, you ain't got nothing.
No choice.
No, you just moved around. And so anyway, I was.
Is that helpful or hurtful in society now?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, you know, the thing of it is that whatever hurt me made me too. You know, so at this point I'm in a great place in my life, so it's hard for me to say this would. Every little thing would have changed the trajectory of your life.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Every little thing. So maybe it was meant for me to go through that now. Then, and what, you know, one thing about losing parents early, man, I got my wife, her father and mother are still alive.
That's not
They haven't gone through that yet. Now, when you lose your parents early, you don't know them well enough. Like, you haven't had enough experience with them. So losing them is cold, but it's not like losing them when you're in your 40s and they're still alive. Look how much life you've had with them. So I know, I mean, I don't wish it on anybody, but I've seen, like one of my best friends, Mickey, just lost his mother. And he's a grown man, and it rocked him. It rocked him, because now he's much more connected. So I'm not saying it was better, but I'm past that.
Right.
I'm past that, and I don't know. Maybe way in my subconscious. I know one thing though. When you grow up as an orphan, I think that makes me harder on my kids. You know, because I didn't have anybody there, so I'm like, you got somebody, so you know you should be able to figure this out. I was forced to figure it out. They're not forced to figure it out, so I figured it out. But lived with my aunt, went to Crenshaw High School, and basically left her house at 17.
And you were only child?
Yeah, only child. At 18, I was on my own, and I've been on my own ever since, my whole life, and I never dealt with any living relatives.
Yeah, we on Boss Talk 101. Yeah, we gonna talk.